Hey crafters, I'm super excited to show you this new craft tool from Waffle Flower. It comes with a stencil extender. It is a grip mat in the size of 8.5 by 8.5. Here you see I am opening it. If you have a glass mat, you can use it on that. You can use it in your Misty. They have different sizes. They sent me one that is size 8.5 by 8.5. It also comes with carrier sheets and size sheets that have markers on it to show you like where to lay your A2 card size or stuff like that. However, I did find that it does work with my Make a Station, so you will see that I am pulling off the plastic for the first time and it is very sticky. It's not like very sticky, but it is sticky, and I was going to put this down to help line up my cards, but then I changed my mind and decided to put it on my Make a Station, but I wanted to show you guys what it looked like if you wanted to put the grid mat on there. Do keep your covers clean because you will be able to use the covers to replace your post-its instead of using a whole bunch of post-its. That is one thing I do like, and this is the first time I'm playing with it, so you will see that I just do a bunch of different things with it, and I wanted to show you. So you can put your paper down and you see that it's not super sticky, that it holds your paper. Here's where I decided that I'm going to put it on my Make a Station, so I wanted to clean it to make sure there's no dog hair or anything on it, so I cleaned it before I put it down, and I wanted to make sure it was dry. So here I'm putting it down and then taking off the other plastic grid sheet to be able to use it. I just wanted to make sure there was no air bubbles. I mean, it really doesn't matter, but I just wanted to make sure. So that is how you put it down. I went ahead and stamped some of these sketched roses, and I wanted to just to show you how easy it is to use the mat. And like I said, this is the first time that I've used it, so here are the stencils. Now I do suggest, it is very sticky as you can see with the stencils, so make sure you are delicate when pulling up the stencils to replace your stencils or to line them up or anything. Those little small areas that you can stencil, like if they're really cut thin, be careful because it might rip the stencil. You'll see that in the next stencil layer that I do, what I'm talking about by that little thin layer. So as you can see, I have white spots. I usually use post-its to cover that up, but not now. So you want to keep those carrier sheets or the clear sheets, and you can stick those down. You can even use the grid sheets, as you can see, and I'm just sticking it down. I wanted to make sure that I got the white covered, so I'm going to stick it down either a little bit over the stencil or on it, and I just wanted to show that you can even cover the other side. And now I'll play some music as you see me stenciling the rose with the purple color. Now that I am done with the first layer, I'm going to pull up, and this is what I'm talking about. See how really sticky it is to pull up? It's not sticky as in like you can feel the sticky, it's just holding the stencil in place. So here you can see that this is the second layer and you can line it up. Now when you see me stencil the third layer, I'll come back and tell you again where that is, just to be careful. I think when you use the mat more, like I said, this is the very first time that I pulled it out of the package to play with, and I wanted you guys to see how it was to pull it out of the package and how it was to play with it. So I didn't want to, play with it and then show you guys. I wanted to show you right out of the bat how it is. So it is very, like, sticky. I think over time you'll get used to how it works, But again, you're going to see that I'm using the plastic pieces to cover up, which I really love, not having to use the post-it notes as much as we usually do. Now that I'm done, I am trying to take it off the mat, and as you can see, I'm having a little trouble. So I did find that taking it from the corner or the side that is laid on the paper, if you can, is a lot easier to pull the stencil up than by pulling it from the mat. Now you will see that I am pulling, again, the carrier sheets or the plastic sheets off the mat, and you will get ink on there, so make sure you do wipe your clear plastic sheets down so that way you don't get ink on anything else. I just used a little bit of rubbing alcohol to wipe down the thing. Again, I'm just cleaning the stencils off so that way the ink doesn't transfer when doing it. to talk a little bit about the tiny parts of the stencil. As you can see, the rose of the flower is over there on the sticky part. As I'm finishing up the green and I go to pull off the stencil, you will see the tiny part of that rose that doesn't have attached get really stick there. This is where I want you to be careful when pulling off the stencils, because it could, you'll see right here, that little piece gets stuck a little bit. I did get a little bit on there, but I am going to wipe my stencil clean here. But please be careful with the fine detailed stencils that have open areas that are not attached to a full stencil, so you don't bend them or break them. Now that I'm finished, I want you to see how pretty and easy it was to make and use this sketch flower, rose flower, using the grip mat. How easy it was to use that, not to use any post-its or anything. Now you will see that I am going to use the extender. I wanted to show you how it works and what it is. So with this, you want to pop out the center. You will place your A2 size panel in the middle, and then you can use your 6x6 cards and put them in, or not cards, but your stencils, and put it on there, and it extends it, but it will only make it as an A2 size card. Or if you have a 6x6 paper like this, you can take your 6x6 paper and lay it down and then use your stencil. I was going to use this one, but I didn't really like how when you use it, it would probably be better to use it on the mat so it would lay those fine lines down. This one is a harder stencil to use because of those very fine lines of the stencil. Pops up. You'll see what I mean in a minute. But you just want to slide that stencil into the holders and line it up with the 6" by 6". But when you go to put it down, so I'm going to put it down, and this is like a 6x6 paper, so say you wanted to stencil it to be bigger, but you only want it, see how that folded up? Yeah, I didn't want you to see that. So I decided to get another one. But if you needed to stencil on a bigger piece of paper, you can use this extender, so you can use just the A2 size will stencil in. So I will show you here as I stencil in some dots what I mean by that. So this is a 6x6 piece of paper, but I'm using the extender so that way the stencil actually grips onto it, because if you use the 6x6 stencil with a 6x6 paper, it has no area for the stencil to grip. So that's why they made the extender, so you can stencil on a bigger sheet. Here I noticed that the stencil did move, so I forgot to put some low-tack tape or washi tape on it. So do make sure you remember to put some tape on the stencil so that way it doesn't move in the extender, because see, the stencil is not being held on to the sticky mat. So make sure you do lay a little bit of tape down just to make sure the stencil doesn't move. So since I was playing around, I wanted to show you how you could just take this stencil and easily flip it around, so you wouldn't even have to, move your paper at all. You could just take your stencil and take it out, and your paper would stay exactly in the same spot, and then you could put it on the extender and put it down. Now, as you can see, I'm just trying to see how it looks, and I forgot that I had already done green on it. And I go to stencil, and I think since I was just playing around, I didn't mind to clean it because I just wanted to show you guys, some different things you can use with the new products. So you might want to wipe your stencil down, but I did not because I just was showing you. But you do see that if you don't stick it down good enough with the tape, it does shift. But like I said, I just wanted to play around and show you guys how to use the extender. So now that I'm done with that, I'm going to take the tape off and remove the stencil. And as you can see, I have this really cool background, and all I had to do was turn the stencil around how you want it. So I wanted to try to show you what this circle is, but I decided I didn't want to use this background with the circle, so I will show you that later on. But again, see how easy and fun it is. That's a 6x6 paper, and you were able to use a 6x6 stencil and use it on a 6x6 paper. Now if you wanted to move it over and do the whole background for like scrapbooking, you could just move the extender and all that over. Now I'm going to show you how you can use the extender with the circle part that they give you in the middle. So this is kind of for like masking off a circle. So they give you a circle that you can mask off with. So here I put an A2 size card already based down in there, not base but panel, that has the sketch rose stamped onto it. And I'm just trying to line it up with the part of the paper. Or here I wanted the circle to really emphasize the rose, so I actually moved that down to put into the rose, and then I'm laying the stencil kind of right next to the mask so that way I can just stencil in the flower. When using the circle or anything in the middle, do remember to tape it down because it has nothing to hold on to. So you will want to tape it down. And then if you have the big size, here you can also lay down, just push your stencil around the side to make sure it's on the mat. Now as you can see where it holds on, I'm just going to tape it down a little bit so that way it stays put instead of moving around. here comes the fun part, the reveal. So here I'm taking off all this tape, the stencils, and the masking, and you can see that it only did a circle in the center where the mask was. Again, make sure you clean it so that way you don't forget, and then you pull it up and you have this beautiful card that has just the circle stenciled out. Later on I will be posting a picture of what I did. I just plan to take a circle die and cut out the circle part of the flower and pop it up with some foam tape to make just a beautiful simple card. Now I wanted to show you how easy it is just to use the mat and a perfect stencil. Just a stencil and a mat. So this is an A2 size panel and just a stencil, any old stencil you want, and you just lay it down, and then I'm going to stencil it on. Here that I'm done, you will see that all you got to do is lift up the stencil, and how easy it is to create a stenciled look. Now I wanted to add a little bit of extra, so I'm just going to play around and see where I want to line this up to stencil other colors, or another color. I think I only did one. So I wanted to show you how you could stencil on. Now I decided that I wanted to use the masking again, so I'm going to lay it down, and I laid it like that, and you just want to play around, so make sure you line it up where you want it. So you will see that I have to pick it up a couple times. Do be careful of picking up your stencils. Remember, the corners are very sharp. I did get one under my fingernail trying to lift it up, and that did hurt, so make sure you pay attention to where you're lifting it up. But here I'm just going to lay down the mask, so you can use the extender with the mask as just a masking area instead of using it for the extender. So I'm just going to tape it down and use blue to stencil a circle out of this. Here's what it looks like when you use the stencil. Now that I've pulled it off, I realized I wanted to do a little bit more, so you'll see that I'm figuring out what I want to do. I decided to add another color, so this card will actually have 3 colors to it. So I just shifted the stencil over to add a purple layer onto it. I am lining up the stencil to get the little bottom layer. I wasn't sure if I was going to use the whole pen or I'll cut it, so I just thought for this video's sake I'd show you how easy it is to move it down and stick it on, and then use that big carrier sheet to cover the whole panel. So without having to use sticky notes, I'm able to use that big plastic, I call calling it a carrier sheet, I'm not really sure if it's a carrier sheet, but the big plastic sheet that comes with it and the grid sheet to use as a masking area. Now I didn't like how the white is, so I decided that I wanted to add just a light layer of the colors. So for the circle, I just laid it back on there. I didn't really matter with the placement, just to fill in a really light color of each one on there. So see how that brought the circle out a little bit more? Again, I wasn't happy with the white, so I decided to take the pink. Now you do get this circle when you pop out a circle. It is a 3-inch circle, is why I think it says 3 on it. And I just tape it down. And then I'm just going to add a really light layer of, I think it was pink, but it might be purple. Nope, pink. I didn't even get ink on it. I just got a really light layer of pink just to take that brightness of the white away so it's not as bright, just to add on there. But see how easy it is to do that with this script mat, is that it stays there, and then you are able to put your stencils and all that on there. And then you lift it up and you have a beautiful card just using a regular stencil. Next, I wanted to show you how it was like to use the sheet, clear sheet that has the grid on it. I am using it like this, however, I noticed that when I used the base and flipped it over, it wasn't as sticky, because I feel like you use it on the base, you know, you pick up whatever's on your base. But I wanted to show you how, if you wanted to, that you can use, you don't have to use it with your glass mat or whatever. You can use it with just a table. Just make sure you tape down the plastic a little bit, because you see that it shifts very easily. So I wanted you to make sure you tape it down. Now I'm just going to use the stencil and have fun just putting a bunch of different flowers in random spots. But you see how it's not as sticky? And I really think that's because I used the bottom part that I stuck to the station. So I have washed it after this video, and I'm hoping that it will be sticky again. But that might be a thing you want to make sure when you're using this, that you mark, top bottom, and make sure you always put the bottom down on whatever surface you're using, and then you will always use, the top part with it. However, I definitely like the part that you can stick it down to something, because using the clear plastic does shift a whole lot easy when you're working. So if you have a glass mat or the plastic silicone mat from Waffle Flower, do use that. As you can see, when I'm lifting up the sheets, it just lifts right off, but you can pick it up and work with it a little bit more if you want. But I just really wanted to show you how, if you want to use, see, my tape was very not sticking, so I did not like that as much. So I just took that off and stuck it back down, so that way you wouldn't see me just flopping it back on the table. But I wanted to show you how easy it is if you just wanted to do a whole bunch of different spots, like make your own pattern paper, how easy it is to use the plastic sheets as your masking. I can mask the whole paper and just stencil from there. fun to be able to just pick up the stencil and place it back down without having to stick it down or get more tape if your tape getting unsticky, and your piece of paper staying in place. As you saw, I just lifted up and moved it around, and it was very easy to make my own pattern paper or background paper like this. They do come in different sizes. They have sizes to fit in the Misties, the big one and the small one, and you can use it to stamp with, so it can become your background mat instead of using the foam mat. However, I do not have a Misty, so I will be just continue on using it for just stenciling, as I do also have the big one. But it was nice and easy to make all these card bases that I have with this mat. I definitely think that this might be a great tool to add to your collection.